This is a resource that will help you teach gymnastics in PE. Gymnastics is part of PE taught from years 7 to 10 and is often overlooked. Therefore, as a teacher, it is important to teach students gymnastic skills so they can meet the learning requirements, but also try a variety of different sports and movements. Teaching gymnastics should start with basic shapes. These will help you correct the form of students, especially when they are in unusual positions, such as being upside down and during complicated movements. Using skill cards is a great way to teach this, as it allows for student-centered learning. As a fun way to cement learning, ask the students to use basic shapes to form a group tower. Before class begins, it's important to check equipment is in working order and that trampolines, beams, and bars have appropriate protection in the form of mats. Remind students that when using equipment, they should take turns and always land in the motorbike stance. Now I will go into depth into some of the skills you might like to teach in class. Starting off with a backwards roll, we will use a wedge like this to help learners get the rotation of their entire body. Using a block underneath helps to lift the legs up so that when they start to roll, their legs are in the correct position and it's much easier to go all the way over. As a safety precaution to protect the students' necks, their hands should be by their ears and their chin should be tucked to their chest. Then, with their legs tucked, they should lean back and roll all the way over. It might help to have a spotter for this. A spotter might be another student who can help push over anyone that's struggling to get the full rotation. Here you can see if a student doesn't use their hands, they don't create a tucked position to roll over. This is an example of a student who is not tucking their chin. They are placing excess pressure on their neck, which can cause injuries. Once your students feel confident with this step, they can now take away the block and just use the wedge. Just remember that some students may still struggle, so it's important to keep the block nearby for those that need it. The next progression can be quite difficult. Getting students to rock back and forth on the ground can help them practice their technique. As you can see here, I'm struggling to get all the way over because I don't have enough momentum. When students are having difficulty, this is where you can come in and give feedback and change their technique. Izzy here has told me that I should come in from a standing position to allow for more momentum in the roll. Next, we're going to learn how to teach an L-sit swing. So this is an L-sit swing, and we're going to be practicing our motorbike position to start off with. Students should have bent knees, a straight back, and their arms out in front of them to ensure they have a controlled landing and absorb the force correctly. Get the students to practice a hanging L-sit so they understand the shape they need to make before adding movements like the swing. To set up an L-sit swing, you're going to need a platform or a box for students to push off of to gain momentum. You also will need a bar, such as a gym bar, or you can use monkey bars as well. It is important that students are landing behind the bar from where they started so that the bar doesn't move with them. A fun modification to this is getting another student to throw a ball at the feet of the person who is doing the L-sit swing and getting them to try and hit the ball. Next, we're moving on to beam walks. So there are lots of different types of beam walks, and you might not have a beam, so you can use basketball court lines or a beam like this. It is important that if the beam is above the ground, that mats are used for protection, and you remind the students to do a motorbike landing. Teaching balance beam walks should start on the floor so that students can understand what is required of them without adding the balancing aspect. In a triangle walk, you might get the students to practice their triangle pose, as this can be difficult on a beam. Students will stand in a T position at one end of the beam. Using their back foot, they will lift their leg up to a 90-degree angle. This will create a triangle. Students will then extend their leg as straight as possible and plant it on the beam in front of them, taking a step. They will then use their other leg to do the same thing and walk across the beam until they reach the end. Students should keep their supporting leg as straight as possible, and they might like to keep their arms out to adjust when balancing. There are various games and challenges you can get the students to try on the beam. This includes adding a ball and doing throwing and catching games, getting the students to line up and try to get a hula hoop through the line, doing partner work like banana split, scissors, paper, rock, and twisting around your partner to get to the other side of a beam. Teaching gymnastics can be complicated, so it's important to remember. Break the skill down into manageable parts. Refer to the basic shapes when possible. Ensure students are following safety considerations, and allow for various skill levels and progression speeds. There are lots of different gymnastics games you can use in your PE class. A game like Sequence or Add-on involves students performing the acro move from the previous student as well as their own until a sequence forms in a line. If you have a lot of gym equipment at your school, it could be really fun to get the students to create and perform obstacle courses. In addition, group challenges like building towers and shapes and relay races such as this balloon race are really fun ways to use gymnastics in PE. Games like these help to increase student participation and their understanding of rhythmic movement. You don't need to find new games to use gymnastics in PE. It's easy to alter PE games to include a gymnastics element. Ideas include Pac-Man by using beam walks, soccer using crab walk, stuck in the mud using an angry cat position, and tunnel ball using a front supports position. Most importantly, ask your students. See if they have any ideas that they would like to try in class. Gymnastics in PE helps students develop strength, flexibility, endurance, and balance. It can be the main content of a lesson or just used as a warm-up. The two most important things are to make sure that the students are safe and that they are enjoying themselves in class. I hope this video helps you feel more confident in teaching gymnastics in class. Thanks for watching.